It's Chris Hardwick!
Greetings!
How are you, good sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I cannot wait to get into this preview because I think we can sum it all up with, hey, load a Chrome browser, and there's your experience. The end. But no, let's get into it. The Google Chrome CR48 Chrome OS netbook. We do have the disclaimer, this is a prototype at best, so we're not actually reviewing it, we're just previewing it. 1 inch thick. Feels a little heavy at 3.5 pounds, but when you consider all the technology that's totally not packed into this thing, that justifies the weight.
Yeah, it is a little bizarre. There's no optical drive. There's really only one USB. There's an SD slot. There's no spinning hard drive inside. There is, I believe it's 16 gigs of SD memory, and I think the only reason that we even know that is because someone did a teardown of it. Google wasn't really saying.
Now, some people say that the design of the prototype, which will likely change drastically before it comes out, but that this design reminds them of like the unibody, the MacBooks.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that there's no little screws in it. You can tell that it's that it's one piece. So let's just run through a few of the features. The chiclet keyboard is easy to type on, though it is not backlit. Again, a prototype. I mean, maybe that would change. You also get new shortcut keys on the top, like back, forward, reload, and full screen.
That's convenient.
But the caps lock is replaced by a search key.
Are you supposed to search for capital letters, or do you know they don't want you using?
Google wants you to forget that capital letters exist. Honestly, I think they're
just whisper on the internet. Don't use capital letters.
Don't use because listen, when people are a little bit slow, I refer to them as all caps. Because only people who type in all caps, they're special. You just push down on the touchpad to click it. It does support some multi-touch gestures like 2-finger scrolling, 2-finger right-clicking. No pinch and zoom, though. But again, it is a prototype.
Right. Now, as you mentioned before, it's all flash-based, memory-wise.
Correct.
So take me through a boot sequence, if you can.
It only takes about 15 seconds, and in case you can't conceptualize that with your brain, here's 15 seconds.
Oh, wow. I get it.
That's what that looks like.
It's like we're all booting together.
Wow, he really knows what 15 seconds is like. What a walkthrough.
All right, so there's the login, and here's what's interesting. I can watch the login.
That's Evil Bruce Green.
Yep.
There he is.
There he is. And I didn't notice him load Chrome. That's quick to have a web browser pop up like that.
Well, that's pretty much all you get. There's no OS.
There's no desktop. There's no folders. There's no icons.
It's a very interesting concept. I mean, they're really banking on the fact that we will all be cloud computing. First, you connect to the internet with the built-in Wi-Fi or 3G. You will, of course, need a Google login. Well, once you're in, that's the browser. That's it. That is it. That is it. You can't download anything. There's none of that.
I know there was talk of like, well, you can plug in cameras and plug in additional mice and plug in keyboards and all this stuff, but
we tried a bunch of that stuff. None of it worked. We plugged in some thumb drives. We put an SD card in. Nothing happens.
Well, okay. What about the actual web browsing experience? Because I saw some video playing there. Some of it was high def.
Yeah, it's very, very choppy. I mean, obviously, Chrome will support the latest version of Flash and anything else you can find on the web, but this particular netbook is a little underpowered. Again, prototype. Sites with streaming high-def video, they do run slow and choppy. We did a bunch of tests there.
But I did see the Chrome web store, which lets you sort of get different apps into Chrome OS, as well as if you're running Chrome on a regular netbook or a laptop at home.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, their web store is starting to fill out with a lot of different web apps. You shouldn't have much trouble finding an app for pretty much anything you want.
Are any of them good?
Yeah, some of them are good, I mean, it's an open source. What do you want? Like, some of it's great, some of it,
I want a reason to have this laptop. That's what I'm searching for.
Well, these apps aren't really apps, Kev. They're just bookmarks of web pages specifically designed for Chrome. Like, they reached out to the New York Times. The New York Times has a Chrome streamlined version of their page. Now, even though we know cloud computing is on the way, it's a little disconcerting not being able to run any application off your hard drive. Personally, I think this is just a test. This is just a dip in the water to see if cloud computing, if we're ready for it yet, or at least to get us thinking in that direction.
Well, what if you want to do normal computer stuff again, like download photos?
No!
Okay. What if I want to edit some videos?
Nine!
What if I want to just open some folders on a desktop?
Enough! There's no file structure!
Damn it.
Most documents can be opened easily by Google Docs, so again, it's in the cloud. You won't really need a file system to get them. Uploading pictures is a little more difficult since some USB drives are not supported by Chrome OS yet. There's really no way to troubleshoot these kinds of problems either. I mean, if you're on a plane, if you want to work on your computer on a train and you go in a tunnel, you can't do anything. Then it just becomes a paperweight. But
So no red tube in the basement unless I have Wi-Fi or 3G access down
That's
there.
right. That's exactly right. But they're really counting on the fact that and personally I think within 3 to 5 years we might be ready for this. But there's no media player on it, so there's no. you know, I keep thinking that maybe Google is working on a G-Tunes, like a Cloud Tunes. If iTunes, you know, takes the music into the cloud, then you would have a media player.
Or they'll really solidify that partnership with Amazon and just deliver that as an experience.
Or that would be an experience as well.
Right.
But for now, you know, I think you noted when we first looked at this, like maybe they're just testing to see what people will complain about the most, so they know what to put on.
Right. Oh, here's the minimum amount of memory and graphics power that we need to put
personally,
in it.
I think, I mean, you know, your iPhone has more internal memory than this thing, which why does it need to be 3.5 pounds? It's just a prototype.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously we're not going to rate it because it is a prototype, but what does Google need to work on before the actual release? What is it going to take to make this little dip in the water something you want to dive into?
Thinner, lighter design, of course, expanded driver support for mice, USB drives, SD cards, any other devices you're bound to use with a netbook. I think it's going to need a media player. It's going to need a way to pull media on. It's going to need a word processor.
Right.
And then you'll start having a system that looks like something that you'd want to cart around. I mean, you had said that I think the future is you walk into a place, there's a screen, and then it reads your biometrics, and then your familiar home screen comes up.
There's everything that you know. But obviously,
Which is not there yet.
That's the future of cloud computing. But you're saying as a next step, potentially in the near future, there has to be a local aspect to it. We're not all ready to be in the cloud.
And I don't personally. I want a hybrid. I don't want all my stuff in the cloud all the time. I like to feel like I have ownership of some of it, and I like to protect it like a baby cub. So you know, I just want to make sure that we can do that. But I do want to say thank you to Google. I think it is very ballsy for them to
I completely agree.
Nerds love to complain about things, and for them to send out something that is not done yet and say, hey, we know it's not done yet. Take a look at it. Tell us how to make it better. I think that's a really cool thing that they did. So
I agree.
You know, it points us in the right direction, and it's a good look at what we might be seeing in the next few years.
Thank you for that preview,
Thank
Chris
you, Kevin
Hardwick.
Pr0n.
We appreciate it. That's it for today's Gadget Pr0n. But if you have a gadget you'd like to see us rate, email us, gadgetpr0n@g4tv.com. Now that Google has practically taken over the internet and your smartphone, why not let them run your computer too? Introducing the Samsung Chromebook. Powered by Chrome OS and a 16-gig solid-state drive, this netbook boots in less than 10 seconds so you can read email, edit documents, or browse the web instantly through the cloud. Plus, it only weighs 3.3 pounds, so this true netbook will go anywhere, starting at $430.
Here she is.
Here I am.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, is it a netbook or is it a tablet without a touchscreen?
It's both and neither.
Huh?
There you go. Review done. Here's the thing. It's nice and slim, which is cool. The keyboard feels very Mac-like. There's handy shortcut keys along the top that'll give you quick access to volume controls, brightness, full screen, browser tab switching, if you will, like an alt-tab button. The entire touchpad feels pretty good, and you can do the two-finger scroll. I wish it had more gestures. I like that on my MacBook. I can, go forward and backward in a browser window with 3 fingers, and this is essentially just a browser, so it'd be nice. The whole surface is clickable, which is cool. Now, there's 16 gigs of onboard storage, so you can save a few files locally, like a netbook. But that's really where the similarities end between this and a netbook.
Yeah. It's running Google's Chrome OS, which means everything runs inside a web browser. So did you feel that set up a bunch of limitations?
Not a bunch, but definitely some.
Yeah.
The Chrome Web Store lets you install apps and games, which is great. In some cases, though, it just means that it adds a shortcut page, a shortcut to like a web page. That's all it is. It's like it's an icon that takes you to a web browser.
And that's all.
That's it. In other cases, it actually installs data to the hard drive, so apps like the New York Times can be used offline. But the problem is that it's unclear when an installed app will actually work offline.
Yeah.
So, for example, you'd have to install extensions and an offline word processor to actually edit a text document on this thing if you're on an airplane.
Such a huge hassle.
It doesn't make any sense. Google Docs doesn't work offline, yet Angry Birds and New York Times does. Other games don't work offline, so it's really hit or miss.
You don't know.
You don't know until you shut off all the wireless access and actually click on it that you can't run it. Hulu works great. There's no Netflix streaming yet, and that's about it for apps right now.
Well, is it fast enough to do a bunch of things at once?
No. Most of the performance issues...
things?
Here's the thing. You can turn it on, which is cool.
No way!
Most of the performance issues that we ran into were Flash-based sites, which is a lot of the internet. Booting it up is incredibly fast. That was nice, and that's thanks to the solid-state drive and a minimal operating system. We were up and running in about 10 seconds every time. As with most netbooks, 720p videos, they're watchable, but you're probably going to watch in 480p, and don't even think about ultra-high def. Don't think about 1080p. It's not happening.
No?
You can think about it. You're only going to hurt yourself.
No.
As for games, again, we hope you like Angry Birds and Othello.
I do.
Well, great. You're in luck, and you want to spend $50,000 on this thing.
No.
There's a broad selection, but they're mostly casual games like Peggle or Peggle Plus or Peggle Extreme or looks and plays just like Peggle but isn't called Peggle. That game's on there. During testing, we hit some out-of-memory errors, which was a bummer, and we had running tabs crash during our testing. Flash was almost always the culprit, but you know, the thing about like the Chrome browser on a normal PC is that if you have a tab crash, theoretically it doesn't wreck the tabs that are alongside of it. So if you're working on your thesis in one video or in one tab and then watching a Chipmunk video in the other,
just the one.
If the Chipmunk crashes, you don't lose all your hard work. On this thing, whenever we had a tab crash, it took out the entire system. It took out every single tab.
Yeah.
You can't have that sort of instability today.
No, that's awful. Well, the Chromebook comes in 2 flavors.
Sure does.
$430 for Wi-Fi only and Wi-Fi plus 3G for $500.
Boy, both those flavors sound delicious.
Is it 3G worth it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you're going to actually get one of these things, you have to get the 3G version because you're so limited with Chrome OS once you're offline.
Yeah.
So, again, if you're going to get one, make it the 3G model.
All right, so at $499, what are we rating it?
That's the problem. 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
2 out of 5.
Really
We're saving you money, all right? Chrome OS still has some kinks that need to be worked out. Because of its limitations, it's difficult to recommend the Chromebook over any other similarly priced Windows 7 netbook or even a tablet device like an iPad at this point.
But it has the potential to be amazing.
I'm a huge fan of cloud computing. I like what Chrome OS is trying to do. This is a first step, but it's a wobbly one at best. I would wait. But I believe in the technology. I believe in the promise. I think in a couple of years, we'll all laugh at the notion that we had processors in all of our pockets and we had, you know, hard drives on everything when you can just store it in the cloud. Right now, it's just too hit or miss. Yeah.
All right, that's it for today's Gadget Pr0n. But if you have a gadget you'd like to see us rate, email us at gadgetpr0n@g4tv.com.
Okay.